Welcome to Clear English Daily.
Your daily podcast for simple and confident English speaking.
Hi everyone. Oh my goodness, it's so good to be here with you today. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Mike.
And you know what? Whether you're listening to us right now on your commute, or maybe you're at home doing dishes, or you're just sitting with your coffee, we're really happy you're spending this time with us.
Sarah, can I ask you something kind of personal?
Oh no. Okay, go ahead.
Do you ever feel weird talking to yourself?
What do you mean weird?
Like, I don't know, sometimes I practice things alone in my room, and I'm literally having full conversations with nobody. And if someone walked in, they would think I'm losing my mind.
Yes, all the time. Actually, just this morning, I was in my kitchen making breakfast, and I was practicing how to explain something, just talking out loud to the refrigerator, and my neighbor walked past my window and definitely heard me.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, and I saw her face. She looked concerned.
That's amazing.
It was mortifying, but also, I don't care anymore, because talking to myself is honestly one of the best ways I practice anything, including English.
And I think a lot of our listeners probably do the same thing, but feel embarrassed about it. Like they think, is this normal? Should I be doing this?
And the answer is yes, absolutely yes. Because here's the truth. Most of the time when you're learning English, you are alone. You don't have a conversation partner sitting next to you 24 hours a day, so you have to learn how to practice by yourself.
And today we want to talk about exactly that. How to study English when you're alone. Because this is the situation most learners are actually in, and nobody really teaches you how to do it well.
So today's episode is all about that. What do you actually do when it's just you, no teacher, no partner, nobody to correct you? How do you practice in a way that actually works? But before we go any further, one quick thing. Very quick. If you're enjoying this, if this is helpful, please tap like, subscribe, and share this with just one friend who's also learning English. You know who they are.
The one who's always saying, I need to practice, but I don't know how.
Exactly that person. Send it to them. And also, we love hearing from you. So today, finish this sentence for us in the comments. When I'm alone, the hardest part about practicing English is blank. And I wish I could blank.
2 blanks. Write it down. Because when you put it into words, you've already started figuring out the solution. That's the first step.
Okay, let's get into this.
So here's the thing that I think confuses a lot of people. When you study alone, it feels like something is missing, like you're doing it wrong because there's nobody there to listen to you or correct you.
Right, because we've been taught that learning a language requires another person. You need a teacher, you need a speaking partner, you need someone to have a conversation with. And if you don't have that, you feel stuck.
But actually, some of the most important practice you can do happens completely alone. And it's not just reading or listening, it's active practice. It's speaking, even when nobody's there.
And I know that sounds strange, like why would you speak if nobody's listening? But here's the thing, your brain doesn't know the difference between a real conversation and a practice conversation. If you're speaking out loud, your brain is working, your mouth is moving, you're building the neural pathways you need for fluency.
So the question is not, should I practice alone? The question is, how do I practice alone in a way that actually prepares me for real conversations?
And that's what we're going to answer today.
Okay, so let me tell you what I used to do when I was learning English, and maybe you'll recognize this. I would watch videos, I would listen to podcasts, I would read articles, and I would understand everything.
I felt really good.
Exactly. I felt like I was learning, but then when I actually had to speak, it's like my brain and my mouth were not connected. I knew the words, but they wouldn't come out.
And I realized, oh, I've been practicing the wrong skill. Because listening and reading are input, you're taking English in, but speaking is output, you're pushing English out. And if you never practice the output part, it doesn't matter how much input you have. It's like filling a car with gas, but never actually driving it.
Great metaphor.
Thank you. So the first thing you need to understand about studying alone is this. You need both input and output, and most people only do input. They listen, they read, they watch, but they never practice producing the language themselves.
So here's a very simple framework, and you can start using it today. It has 3 parts, and all 3 parts you can do completely alone.
Part 1. Input with intention. This means when you listen to something in English or read something in English, you're not just passively absorbing it, you're actively looking for things you want to use.
So let's say you're listening to a podcast, like this one. Instead of just listening and moving on, you stop when you hear a phrase that sounds useful. Something like, that makes sense, or I totally agree, or can you say that again? And you write it down.
You're not collecting vocabulary randomly, you're collecting phrases that real people actually say in real conversations, phrases you could use tomorrow.
Part 2, practice out loud. This is the part most people skip. You take those phrases you collected and you say them out loud. Not in your head, out loud. You practice the physical act of speaking.
And this is where people feel weird, because you're alone in your room talking to nobody. But this is actually the most important part, because your mouth needs to learn how to form the sounds. Your brain needs to practice choosing words quickly, and you can't do that silently.
Part 3, create real scenarios. You don't just say random sentences. You imagine a real situation and practice what you would say in that situation. You're basically rehearsing for real life.
So, for example, maybe you imagine you're at a coffee shop and you practice ordering out loud. Or maybe you imagine you're meeting a new coworker and you practice introducing yourself. You're giving your brain context, and context makes everything stick better.
Those 3 parts. Input with intention, practice out loud, create real scenarios. That's it, and you can do it, all of it, alone.
Can I tell you a story about this?
Please.
Okay, so a few years ago, I was preparing for a job interview in English, and I was terrified because I knew they were going to ask me questions, and I had to sound confident and professional, and I didn't have anyone to practice with.
So what did you do?
I wrote down 10 questions I thought they might ask. Things like, tell me about yourself, or why do you want this job, or what's your biggest strength? Basic interview questions.
Okay.
And then, every day for 2 weeks, I practiced answering those questions out loud, alone in my room. I would ask myself the question, and then I would answer it, like I was having a full conversation with an invisible interviewer.
And did you feel ridiculous?
Oh, completely. I felt so silly, but I kept doing it. And by the time the real interview came, I wasn't nervous anymore because I had already lived that moment 50 times in my room. My brain recognized it. It felt familiar.
And how did the interview go?
I got the job. And honestly, I think it's because I didn't freeze. The words came out smoothly because I had practiced them so many times. It wasn't luck, it was preparation.
And that's what we're talking about. You're not hoping you'll be ready. You're making yourself ready. In private, alone, where it's safe to make mistakes.
Now, I want to pause here because some people are thinking, okay, but when I practice alone, how do I know if I'm saying things correctly? What if I'm making mistakes and nobody's there to correct me?
That's a really good question, and here's my answer. Yes, you might make mistakes, but making mistakes while practicing is way better than not practicing at all.
And here's the thing. Most of your mistakes in real conversations are not grammar mistakes. They're fluency mistakes. You hesitate. You stop. You can't find the word fast enough. And those problems get fixed by practicing speaking, even if you're alone.
Plus, when you practice alone, you're building confidence. And confidence is honestly more important than perfection because people forgive small grammar mistakes, but they notice when you're too afraid to speak at all.
So don't wait until you're perfect to start practicing out loud. Practice out loud so you can get closer to fluent.
Now let me give you some very specific things you can do when you're studying alone. Real practical activities.
Yes, because I think people hear this advice and think, okay, but what exactly do I do? So let's get specific.
Activity 1, shadowing. This is when you listen to something in English and you repeat it immediately after, like an echo. You're copying the rhythm, the intonation, the speed.
So you could listen to a short video, pause after each sentence, and repeat it exactly how they said it. You're training your mouth to move the way native speakers' mouths move.
Activity 2, self-talk. This means you narrate your life out loud in English. You describe what you're doing as you're doing it.
So let's say you're making breakfast. You say out loud, okay, I'm making coffee now. I need to boil the water. Oh, I forgot the sugar. Where did I put my cup? Just talking through your actions. It sounds silly, but it works.
Activity 3, record yourself. Use your phone. Record yourself speaking for 30 seconds about any topic. Then listen back. You'll hear where you hesitate, where you stumble, where you sound unclear.
And the beautiful thing about recording is you become your own teacher. You notice your own patterns, and then you can work on them.
Activity 4, answer imaginary questions. Pretend someone just asked you, "How was your weekend?" Or, "What do you think about this?" And answer out loud like you're really talking to them.
You can even use a list of common conversation questions. Things like, what did you do today? What's your favorite food? Where do you want to travel? Answer them out loud. Practice having opinions and explaining them.
Activity 5, read out loud. Take any article, any book, any text message, and read it out loud, not silently, out loud. It's simple, but most people never do it.
And when you read out loud, you're practicing pronunciation, rhythm, breathing, pacing, all the physical parts of speaking.
Those 5 activities, shadowing, self-talk, recording, answering imaginary questions, and reading out loud. You can do all of them alone. No partner needed.
And here's what I want you to understand. Studying alone is not a limitation. It's actually an advantage. Because when you're alone, you can make mistakes without embarrassment. You can repeat the same sentence 50 times without annoying anyone. You can go slow. You can experiment.
You're in a safe space, and that safe space is where real learning happens. Because you're not performing for anyone. You're just building the skill.
Now, let me tell you one more story, because I want to show you how powerful this really is.
Go ahead.
So, last year, I wanted to improve my storytelling in English. I wanted to be able to tell a story in a clear, interesting way without stumbling or losing the thread.
Okay.
So I started doing this every morning. I would pick one small thing that happened the day before, like I saw a funny dog at the park, or I had a weird conversation at the grocery store. Tiny, boring things.
Right.
And I would practice telling that story out loud, alone, in my room. I would tell it like I was telling a friend, and I would do it 3 times. Each time, I would try to tell it a little smoother, a little clearer.
And did it help?
It changed everything. Because after a few weeks, when I actually had to tell a story in a real conversation, the words just flowed. I didn't have to search for them. I had practiced the skill of thinking in English and speaking in English at the same time so many times that it became natural.
And that's the key. You're not memorizing scripts. You're practicing the skill of thinking in English and speaking in English at the same time. And you can practice that skill completely alone.
Okay, let's do a quick recap because I want to make sure this is really clear.
When you study alone, use this framework. Input with intention, collect useful phrases, practice out loud, speak even when nobody's listening, create real scenarios, imagine situations and rehearse for them.
And 5 specific activities you can do: shadowing, self-talk, recording yourself, answering imaginary questions, and reading out loud.
You don't need a teacher or a partner to practice these things. You just need 10 minutes and the willingness to feel a little silly talking to yourself.
And trust me, the silliness goes away, and the confidence shows up.
Now, before we finish, let's do a quick word tour. Some important words we use today.
Sword tour.
Now, first word, input. I-N-P-U-T. Input is information or language that comes into your brain. When you listen, read, or watch something, that's input.
I get a lot of input from watching English shows, but I don't practice output enough. Or listening to podcasts is great input, but you also need to speak.
Next word, output. O-U-T-P-U-T. Output is language that comes out of you. When you speak or write, that's output. It's the opposite of input.
I'm good at understanding English, but my output is still slow. Or, if you never practice output, speaking will always feel hard.
Next word, absorb. A-B-S-O-R-B. When you absorb something, you take it deeply. You don't just hear it, you really learn it, and it becomes part of you.
I want to absorb new vocabulary so I can use it naturally. Or, when you listen carefully, you absorb more than just words. You absorb the rhythm, too.
Next word, fluency. F-L-U-E-N-C-Y. Fluency means speaking smoothly and naturally without stopping or struggling too much. It's not about perfection, it's about flow.
My goal is fluency, not perfect grammar. Or, when you practice out loud every day, your fluency improves quickly.
Next phrase, stick better. When something sticks better, it means you remember it more easily. It stays in your brain instead of disappearing.
If I practice in real scenarios, the phrases stick better, or information sticks better when you use it, not just read it.
Next word, rehearse. rehearse. To rehearse means to practice something before you do it for real, like actors rehearse before a performance.
I rehearse conversations alone so I feel ready in real life. Or if you rehearse common situations, you won't freeze when they actually happen.
And last word, narrate. Narrate. To narrate means to describe or tell what's happening, like you're telling a story or explaining events as they happen.
I narrate my morning routine in English to practice speaking, or try to narrate what you see around you. It's great practice. Okay, let's bring this home.
Here's the truth. You don't need a classroom or a conversation partner to make real progress in English. Some of the most powerful practice happens when you're completely alone.
Because when you're alone, you can be messy. You can repeat things 50 times. You can stop and start. You can try things without judgment. And that freedom is where learning happens.
So here's your tiny homework. Today, right now, pick one of those 5 activities. Just one. Shadowing, self-talk, recording, answering imaginary questions, or reading out loud. Do it for 5 minutes. That's it.
And if you want to go one step further, come to the comments and finish this sentence. When I study alone, I will start practicing blank, and I'll do it for blank minutes every day.
Write it down. Make it real. And when you see other people's comments, you'll realize you're not alone in this. We're all practicing together, even when we're in separate rooms.
And we read every comment. We'll see yours.
And if this episode helped you, if something finally clicked, please share it. Send it to someone who keeps saying, I want to practice English, but I have nobody to practice with.
Because somewhere right now, there's someone who thinks they can't improve because they're alone. And that's just not true. They can. They just need to know how. And this episode might be exactly what helps them start.
Tap like, subscribe, and share. You might change someone's entire learning journey today.
The best conversations you'll ever have in English start with the conversations you have with yourself.
So go talk to yourself. We give you full permission, and we'll be right here cheering you on. See you next time.
Take care, everyone.